Anyway, so what we've got here tonight is Battle Chasers Anthology. It's from Joe Madureira and Munier. Sharrieff, I'm probably saying the names wrong, but anyway, that's what we're going to look through. I'm not going to say anything about the story. I don't think I can say anything about the story. I don't remember the story, and I'm not sure I followed the story, but it has some terrific artwork. In fact, there's some jokes in the comic industry, like if you want to get published. It's an old joke, but anyway, if you hired this Joe Mad, then your book would get published. So who is Joe Mad? I'm going to say that, address that in a minute. Who he is now is a little different than who he was when he made this book, which was a while ago. Let me see if I can find out exactly when he made this book. I probably have to search like Battle Chasers, but so Joe Madureira, often called Joe Mad, is an American comic artist and game developer, best known for his work on Darksiders, Marvel Comics Uncanny X-Men, and his creator-owned comic book Battle Chasers. So that's Battle Chasers. That's what we got today. That's from Image Comic. He is the founder of the video game development company Vigil Games and Airship Syndicate. So I think that's a pretty impressive resume there. Let me see here. What if so we do you can just go through there. Some of these images are probably Battle Chasers or similar. I mean, this one is like some sort of Superman. These might not all be his, but these are the ones that come up when you search his name. Anyway, let's take a look at the book. That's what we're here to do, right? It's a pretty thick book. I forget exactly how many pages, but it's quite a lot. Let's take a look here. So there's some of the characters. There's a lot of if you like that Final Fantasy style with those oversized weapons and focus on characters and big eyes and things like that. That's a lot of the kind of stuff you see here. Also, I don't think this book was finished. The art style kind of changes a couple of times on the way through, and it never quite finishes. I think when you get to the back of the book, there's some stuff where it's not even it's just outlined or sketched. It's not even the full thing there. We'll get to that in a minute. The lettering is good. The coloring is good. The shapes of the characters and the so-called rendering, I think that's where it really shines. And you can see that this creator went into video games afterward. I mean, it almost looks like it should be a video game when you look at this. And also, I think what's rewarding about video games is you build the character models and then they can be infinitely posable. You know, comics, they're kind of past their prime. There's still something nice about them. You know, people will never stop reading, Shakespeare, and they'll never stop reading comics. But, when you play a video game, you can replay it and view the characters from every angle. When you do a comic book, someone else has got to pre-pick the camera angles and the lighting and everything that you see, but it's not that it's bad. I mean, if you look at what's going on here in this book, I mean, it's not bad at all. We've also got this 90s style lettering, which is cool. This is the digital coloring, the sort of shading style that they get into now, but we've still got the blacks. Nowadays, people don't respect as much, the black ink, but obviously this book still does. So this is actually a great era for comics. You see a lot of this in the early Spawn books as well. It's like they're using the new tools, but they're still enjoying what was great about the old stuff. Like, I mean, look at this image here. I don't know how many of those you get these days, but then we've got other, images here that are, well, this one is very colorful, and this one is a silhouette, is what I'm trying to say there. There's a lot, well, that's camera's not going to be in use tonight. It's a little too bright for this. Yeah, a lot of interesting lettering. Also, look at the shoulders on this guy. I mean, I know it's a suit, but it's still something. Flipping through this, oh my goodness, what is going on? I gotta lift it up. There was some harsh brightness. I saw it on the camera. I don't see it in real life. But when I drop this down, the camera only gets reflection. So I think I gotta keep my eyes on the monitor tonight. Maybe I even can spin this over a little bit, and then that harsh light won't hit this page at all. Give me a minute to adjust here. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit. Whoops, that was way too much. It flew off the screws for a second. All right. Did we block out that harsh lighting? Not completely, but somewhat. I think it's better now. I think we're going to stick with this camera angle. Let me just try, though, one more. Maybe we'll use this one at some points, but I think we're mostly going to stay here tonight. This is like the best one. This looks like Harley Quinn, kind of like Joker. A little bit. This story, I remember when I first read it, and again, this goes back to the idea that the guy ended up getting into video games. There's every third page, there's new characters. And I think that's the fun of it, if you keep introducing new characters, you keep getting to draw new characters, you keep getting to pose new characters. I mean, there are some characters that recur throughout the book, but this constant stream of new characters is a lot of fun. For the creator, I'm sure. Of course, it's fun for the readers, too, but... I like this one with the lettering, but also the silhouette. And it's it's an outline, but it's kind of shaded. Definitely something different there. And that's another thing with this book. There's definitely a style, but there's also a lot of experimentation because this is a creator-owned sort of independent comic. I mean, it's Image, but it's creator-owned. It's obviously created by Joe Madureira. So he's writing it, drawing it, editing it, publishing it, whatever you want. Well, Image is publishing it. Basically, what I'm saying is nobody's telling him what to do. And as a result, if he wants to keep changing the style, if he wants to keep experimenting with ways to present the story, if he wants to keep bringing in new characters, there's nobody's going to tell him not to do it. And that's a lot of fun. Here's again a good mixture here of the black ink that's known for the comics of old and the new style lighting and coloring that didn't exist before the digital era. So there's definitely things here to study if you so choose. Like, I think you can take some tracing paper and go over these images, and, you know, you'll be a better artist at the end. And there's also a lot of, you know, he's not shy about drawing what people are expecting and often hoping to see in comic books. We're not going to be shy here and pretend like we're not here for big swords and big boobs and big lighting and big monsters and whatever this sort of weird Frankenstein is. I mean, we're having fun with this book. Look at this window. You know, I mean, if you're going to have a window, make it a cool window. If you're going to have a coat, you know, render the hell out of that coat. I mean, have some fun. And here's again that old school lighting. You don't see as much these days. So you can take your rendering of this sword, which is already good. But if you can imagine this in flat, like 80s comic, you know, coloring. Now you've got some 90s, maybe early 2000s. What is this from? I forget what year this came out. It's probably in the 2000s, but it's still pretty early. And now you've got this digital work that could not have existed before. Pretty crazy. So here you can see on this side what it kind of looks like without that crazy rendering. Here's a more flat page for sure. Not every panel. Kadoom. Krakoom. I like this one here. I like the tiles coming off, and I like the lettering. And obviously, anytime, I mean, you got to get your characters in the air. You got to get their knees bent, their toes pointed up. I mean, their mouths open. All of this says there's action happening right now. I tell you, I make comics, and I had some problems early on until I found the creators that I want to work with the most, with people who, you know, they had people standing flat-footed, arms at their sides, expressionless faces. It's like really tough to do a comic when the other creators don't want to enjoy the art of comic craft. I know what comic craft is the name of the people who do the lettering, but that phrase just kind of fell in my head when I was thinking about this. You got to enjoy making the comics. If you enjoy making the comic, then the person is going to enjoy reading the comic. Sorry, this harsh shadow. I'm going to reach across the camera for a second and try to get rid of this light. But you know what? I think the light is coming from above. Okay. It's accidentally fixed. I don't know what happened there, but the light is gone. Okay. There we go. Much better. Looks a little like Thanos' glove. Actually, there is some glove, gauntlet type thing relevant to this book. I'm actually not sure. Wow, that's a big image. Huge fist and pecs and small face. I guess not that small, but smallish. I'm normally not a fan of so many colors on one page, but that's because it normally goes wrong. If you actually can do it and have it look good at the end, then go for it. Most people can't. Look at the traps on this guy. Does a lot of shrugs. They have some football players look like this, right? They do a lot of neck exercises, neck stabilizers. If you're going to run and get tackled by an NFL defensive lineman or linebacker, you want to have a strong neck to protect yourself. Right. Well, this character's sticking around a while. Wow. Some zombies. Yeah, this book definitely... Some, like, I don't know if that's a ghost. There was demons before. There's like a wolf person, like a werewolf. This lady, she's a redhead. I don't know if she also has magic. There's monsters, purple capes, robots, and there's guns, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be just swords. You know, give people some guns. Put in some mechs. Some wild beasts. I mean, it's basically everything. I mean, literally, if you're looking for a book to trace, I mean, this is a good one. Snakes, reptiles, boots. This is some, like, magic armor. I forget the story, but there's something to it. There's something about it that's part of this, relevant to the story. Look at that. Is that a zombie face? It's something. Some incredibly thick borders at some points. This is the type of thing where you need to be in charge, because like an editor would reject this. Like when I'm making a comic, I would reject this. But if you are working with an independent creator or a publisher's editor, and they reject it, but you know that you're doing it for a reason, fight back, push back. Because I'll tell you, you have a tendency to reject, because I'm in that position when I, have people working on my comics. I'll think like, what's going on here? And I'll just reject it. But if the person pushes back and says like, they know, trust me, then leave it in. Because as you see, it looks fine here. Your instincts are to reject it, but as long as the person knows why they did it, and they don't think it looks ridiculous, and, not like they're just using that I just say, oh, act confident, and they'll go with it. No, you have to also be able to see it. Like, they can't just, if they say it, and you still don't see it, and you feel strong, then tell them to get rid of it. And if they don't get rid of it, fix the line yourself after they submit the page. But, if you buy their story and why it makes sense, then go ahead and leave it in. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good. Wow, this is like something. What are we in here? Everything's purple. I see a giant fist. I see a robot face. I see something moving around inside the robot. Some strong robotic voice. Now the zombies are glowing. I'm telling you. This book doesn't stop. We got some dramatic lighting here. Some full page silhouette. This book is, pedal to the metal the whole way. Again, I couldn't follow the story. I don't know if there's anyone out here who knows the story. It looks like that giant hole like in 300. We got a wizard with a coat, a cloak, and a cane and a beard. We got everything except a reason for any of this stuff. It's just all here. Just take it for what it is. I'm telling you. It's a tracing book. You know? I learned something about how to make comic visuals that pop. Maybe there's a great story here. I don't want to make it seem like it's not. I really don't know. I just know that when I read it, none of the story was retained. I was just looking at the pictures. Wow. There really is some creative imagery here. I mean, you see this all the time nowadays in video games and in animation, but it was new. I'm not claiming that this is the first place you saw it, but it was early. Hold on a second. I mean, all right, I was just checking the mic. I had like 3 nights in a row where the mic was too low or under the static or under the guest. I basically had 3 nights in a row where you couldn't hear my show. And I don't know now if it's fine tonight or if it's too loud. Based on the levels that I'm seeing on the YOLO box, it's too loud. But when I check in on YouTube, it seems fine. I'm going to check in one more time. Too low. I don't know. Seems fine to me. According to the YOLO box, I'm too loud, but I'm just not going to take its word for it. They did an update. I think maybe on Friday they did the update, and I'm sure there's going to be complaints by Monday because it screwed up everyone's. Oh, maybe it was Thursday was the update. I think it was Thursday. Anyway, it screwed up the microphones. It screwed up the monitoring of the microphones, such that people would think that they were too loud and they would lower the gain, and then they would be not heard. So, like right now, I'm seeing visuals that are saying that I'm way too loud, but when I listen to it, it sounds fine. But I should be talking about this comic book, not the microphone. So, we already see the style changing here. If you take a look at it, it looks different than it did back in the beginning. There was a lot more rendering going on in the beginning. It's already gotten to almost like a Nickelodeon style now. It's like, check out this face. It looks much different than it did at the beginning of the book. I say Nickelodeon, but it's not like Disney is doing anything different. Well, there's some, every show is different. I like these pages. I know they're like just there to basically to keep the facing pages order correct. Sometimes when you're doing a collection, you just got to throw in a page to keep, the spreads, 2-page spreads from getting broken, and just keep all the timing. You basically have to keep the pages, the odd pages and the even pages. They have to stay odd and even. Sometimes you just got to throw in a page to do that. But like, for example, in my book, Electromagnet, I threw in those pages that were from a simulated website, like Talk Form. Here it's an art page. And it's kind of simple, but it's also kind of cool, I think. It's a negative, obviously, and it's not a black and white, it's a black and gray. I don't know. Basically, it looks cool, and I appreciate it. And we got some mummies here, right? I mean, is this a cohesive story, or is this a demonstration? Well, it's a great demonstration, isn't it? I mean, we all can enjoy it now. We got some reptilians, robed reptilians. I don't know, with multiple heads, or are those people living in that reptile? Are they sitting on its lap? I don't know what's going on. But it's like Joe Mad is showing off all his skills, but you can now learn them too, because you can like work from this book. Now, Look at her from the beginning. How much different did she look? Much different, right? The whole art style changed as this book went along. It's completely different by the end. Which is, as long as you don't care about this, now look at it. Well, I mean, of course it's 6 years ago, but still, look how different it is. By the way, I think it's about to end right here. So you can learn like 4 different styles going through this one book. And you can learn tons of different types of characters, from the werewolves to the zombies to the mummies to everything else. I think this is like the last page, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of a corny joke here, by the way, if you can follow what's going on there. And look how different the characters look. Well, it's supposed to be 6 years in the past. And now it's at the point where it becomes unfinished. And I think it's just going to get more and more unfinished as we go along. Sketch gallery. Yep. I mean, not that it isn't cool. Actually, it is cool because you're seeing what it looks like on paper. If you want to try now, instead of tracing, maybe try... Well, yes, you still could trace, but you also could try to, grab your sketch pad and try to do some of these things without tracing. You see the effort that was put even into the logo. As it should be, right? I mean, that's the big thing in comics, is you want your logo visible and readable and eye-catching from across the room. Because literally that's how sales can be made, from across the room. Whether it's at a comic convention or a comic book shop, if they still have those. Not every town does these days. Well, this thing I picked to hold the book, it has, you can like tighten screws and it won't move. And I should have done that because it is moving all over the place during this demonstration. This flip through of this book. Cover gallery. We're basically done. Was this the front cover? I don't know. No. I've seen that before. I forget where we saw that. Oh, there. Is that it? Yeah, that's it, right? So this first page, which had the credits, it repeats here. But we're past... Oh, my goodness. She's got the logo tattooed on her butt there. And there's the character with the gauntlet. The robot. Yeah, I mean, these are great covers, stylish and well drawn for sure. This is totally different. I don't know. It's a different artist, I think. There's probably going to be some more from different artists. That's a thing, get someone else to draw your comic. It's, especially if you don't give them too much direction, you sort of get to see what they appreciate in the comic based on what they draw. What characters they choose to draw and how they choose to draw them. Again, you hope that the person puts some effort in, especially if you're commissioning them to do an alternate cover. But it's always a thing, is the person really going to draw or not? This creator-owned comic, obviously, they drew the hell out of it, but you don't always get that result. So there's the Joe Mad and Battle Chasers. Excuse me. I hope you enjoyed the peek at that. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. I think we're going to go back to one of the things that we've drawn and not finished, because we've got a few of those. Anyway, that's it for Battle Chasers. I'll see you tomorrow.